Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Golden Opportunities Coaching YouTube channel. Over 400 audios for you to check out. Variety of topics. If there's something that I can help with, please feel free to comment below, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We want to get to 1,000 subscribers so that we can start donating to charity during these COVID times. So please subscribe or send this off to someone who might. Also, if you want to deal with self image, self esteem, self value, and kind of changing belief systems. That's something I'm very schooled in. It's where a good majority of my coaching practice is and goes. So, if that's something you're looking at or wanting to do, certainly consider doing so. You can get in touch with me through my YouTube page here. The About Me section has my website, or you can go to the Twitter page of PO Perception. P as in Paul, O as in Oreo Perception, and that will give you the information you need as well. But with that out of the way, struggling with being good enough is our topic for this particular audio. Now, the concept that you're not good enough is a learned behavior, usually learned through um, circumstances or through poor parenting or under supportive childhood environments. And so what happens is we have this illusion that a person can ever stop being good enough to be loved, to be valued, to be appreciated, to be a contributor to society, to be good enough to learn something new, to be good enough to whatever. First of all, first of all, core fundamental belief from a spiritual perspective, no matter what religion you follow, is that we were all born enough, otherwise, we wouldn't have incarnated on the planet. So the idea that we're ever not good enough is a misperception and a misnomer. But there's reasons that we come to that conclusion, and that's what we're going to go through in this audio. The first is we become our own self-critic. So, self criticism usually is a learned behavior that is modeled after parents. And if parents are extremely critical, they have very high expectations from an early age. Many times, those expectations are those that a child can't reach due to inexperience or due to lack of knowledge, lack of focus, lack of brain development. And so, in other words, hey, you have to get 100 to be deemed worthy of being loved. Well, wait, that's a guarantee, almost a guarantee of a fail, because there's only one pathway to love and success that way. But if a child begins to believe that to their core, that they're only as good as their achievement, then self criticism becomes the result of that, and that can be carried into adulthood. The second is kind of goes hand in hand with it is the illusion of competition. The reason I call competition an illusion isn't because people don't compete. It's because that competition matters more than self-achievement, and that's just simply not true. Here's why. Number one, the person you're competing with is more worried about what you think of them and competing with you than they actually are in most cases becoming the successful person that they're capable of becoming on their own merit, which means by looking at you and focusing on what you're doing, saying, being, becoming, they're taking their mind off their own situation. They're taking their mind off their own ability to produce and achieve. So the illusion of competition is that we need to compete at all. The only person or persons we should be competing with is our own version of our own best. That is, to compete with the desire to improve every day, every week, every month, every year. Not with other people, because when we look at other people, we're taking our mind off the goal, off the achievement, off the pursuit of whatever it is we're trying to reach, and that ultimately leads to a lot of challenges and problems. The next is toxic relationships. If you do not have a strong support network, the likelihood that you are going to struggle with feeling not good enough is very high. The search for personal acceptance is a part of human connectedness because we are meant for and wired for, on a brain chemistry level, community. So, when a person is toxic, we mirror image their behavior and their emotions a lot of the time, which means if we're merging with another person's toxicity and they don't think we're good enough, we're going to take on their a view of us rather than our own view of us, or a neutral view of ourselves. See, the neutral view is, yes, there are things I can work on. Yes, there are areas in my life I need to improve, but I'm really a pretty cool person, guy or lady, because I'm also good at these things that other people may not be. The neutral view is where the power begins, because then we can choose to be positive or negative or neutral, and choosing against negativity is almost always better. Of course, there's sometimes to be negative about something if it's going to be dangerous for us. But except for protection of danger, negativity is virtually, a backward step in most situations. And almost all toxic relationships are negative, except for the fact that they cause us eventually, when we leave them, to look at ourselves more objectively and refine our self identity. So, the silver lining at the end of a toxic relationship is we can get back to ourselves, but during it, we are more likely than ever not to feel worthy of love or good enough for anything. The next is the level of demands we place upon ourselves and others. Certainly, achievement is to be celebrated, more so in Western culture than Eastern culture, because Eastern culture is much more about the flow of energy and kind of achieving based on being able to go from one thing to another as fluidly as possible. Wherein Western culture is more focused on physical achievements, being able to show promotions, physical things, size of family, size of bank account, size of influence over others. The demands we place on ourselves, if they're unrealistic or if they are things that we don't actually have the tools to achieve, and we continue to demand those things from ourselves, or if we grow up in an environment or surround ourselves with people that place high demands on us that we never feel we could reach, we're actually going to be, and I'll go into the next one, traumatized, because the fear of failure can almost paralyze us emotionally, thereby creating the relationship of kind of reliving memories, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and other traumatic resulting behaviors, all bringing us back to central choices we've made, making us not feel good enough because we're reliving the trauma. Now, that trauma core connective will often lead us to the ultimate fear, or an ultimate fear for lots of people, and that is the fear of abandonment. Look, the reality of being a successful person is that the relationship we have with our own resiliency is the most important relationship we can have. It's not with a person, it's with ourselves. Because the value of the relationship we have with ourselves can, in fact, be something we carry into our relationships with other people. If we are good with ourselves, or if we are good within ourselves, then we can be good to other people as a result of our own security. Not having internal security means sooner or later we're going to lean on somebody else to be there for us, and when we lean on them as a formulation of our own self-identity, the fact that they could leave us behind is going to make it trigger us to fear abandonment, which is ultimately a problem. Now, the elongation of these negative thought patterns about not being good enough can lead to chemical changes in the brain. This can lead to various mental illnesses, including but not limited to things like schizophrenia or split-mindedness, depression, that is an overall feeling of sadness, which results from absence of neosynephrine and dopamine and serotonin and other chemicals in the brain, anxiety and panic attack, higher levels of cortisol and adrenaline, and all sorts of physical consequences to not feeling good enough for elongated periods of time. Obviously, this isn't healthy, it's not good for us, but it does happen every day. So hopefully this has been helpful, and hopefully you can find a way to see yourself as always having been and always being able to be good enough in any situation.